Hi guys, this is Amanda with Pithy and Practical, and I'm going to take you through an abbreviated version of how to make some hot process soap. So here is the recipe we're going to be using. Everything is weighed by mass and not volume, so you're going to need a kitchen scale. You also need to have a slow cooker and an immersion blender, as well as several things to measure your ingredients in. The first thing we're going to do is measure the water and aloe vera juice. The water should be distilled water or reverse osmosis water. Safety first. Make sure that you are wearing gloves, a mask, and safety goggles, or at very least eyeglasses, because you may splash some lye on yourself. Also have some vinegar on hand as well. So the first thing we're going to do is measure out the lye. A digital scale is really key to make sure that you are getting the correct amounts for everything. If you don't have a digital scale, they're pretty cheap at the hardware store or on Amazon, $20. Now we're going to add the lye to the water. Always add the lye to the water, not the other way around. So if you're adding water to the lye, it can splash and cause all kinds of havoc. It's also going to heat up really quick. This is the exothermic reaction I was talking about in my last video. And you can see here it's 22 in my kitchen, and the water lye mixture is about 106 degrees. It's going to cool down at least 10 degrees or so while we do this next part. You can take your gloves off for this part because you're not working with lye. So this is just measuring all your oils. And again, you want to use that digital scale so that you're as accurate as possible. I put all the liquid oils into one container, just zeroing the scale before I add the next one. And then of course when you pour it into your crock pot, you're going to want to scrape it all out to make sure it's all in there. That was my safety reminder again, that once you use this crock pot for this, you can't use it for anything else. Yes, you want a microwave safe bowl or large Pyrex measuring cup. I broke my big one, so that's why I'm using this bowl, but it will get hot. So a cup, a big mug is much better. This one, of course, is mango citrus soap. So the mango seed butter is a key ingredient for that. And yeah, I always end up with really soft hands afterwards because I use it as a moisturizer. Yes, I did burn myself there a little bit. Okay, time for the gloves to come back on. There's our lye solution. I've added about 2 teaspoons of sodium lactate, and that's just going to help the mixture stay as liquid as possible after the cook. If you don't have it, you can use yogurt, or you don't have to use it at all. It's not absolutely necessary. Yes, so we're going to put some plastic wrap on, and you'll see why in a little bit, because this blender is one of the most frightening things I've ever used in my entire life. And of course, a slow cooker has a very flat bottom. So what the immersion blender does is it kind of like sucks up stuff from the bottom. And then when you let go, it's like letting go of a suction cup, and it just goes everywhere. And yeah, as it says, similar to pudding that's just started to set, you don't have to, unlike cold process, you don't have to worry about it getting to complete trace. Yeah, there's that splash. I got splashed in the face the first time I did this. That was not pleasant. Now we're going to cover the rest of it with the plastic wrap, and then put the lid on. Again, this helps keep that moisture in because, of course, as it cooks, the water that's in there is going to want to evaporate, but you want to keep as much of that moisture in during this process as you can to keep your soap as liquid as possible until you're ready to mold it. So here I'm using some paprika and some annatto seed powder. Paprika, of course, you can get at the grocery store. Annatto I purchased online from a soap ingredient supplier. Same with the essential oils. I've got pretty much equal amounts of the orange, grapefruit, and lemon, and then just a little bit of the Litsi. The Litsi really helps anchor citrus scents. And this is just it as it gets cooking and going. It's gonna look like nothing's happening for about the first 15 to 20 minutes, depending. And then it starts to get really exciting and start bubbling up and that kind of thing. And yeah, this is where I made a mistake. Yeah, I had my crock pot on too high for too long. Hot process is very forgiving, but it's better to take longer and cook it at a bit of a lower temperature than to try to speed up the process too much, because then this happens. So that was a little bit of a mess. So I've got my gloves back on, as you can see, because I don't know if it's actually done cooking. Overflow does not mean that it's done. It was only going for about 45 minutes at this point, and your cook is going to take between 45 to an hour 25. Yeah, so I'm using some pH strips. A lot of soap makers will use the Pheno liquid, but that just tells you whether it's good or not, whereas the pH strips will give you some gradient degrees. So as you can see, it's not quite, there's still a little bit of purple in the liquid there, so it's about 11 still. We want it to be at 10. Now, this is not as liquid as I would like, and that's again because we did the overflow, so we lost a lot of the moisture that was in there. And now that was a nice green pH strip at 10, so you can see it lines up with the 10 on my little chart there very nicely and out of focus. All right, so now we've got our mango seed butter that we're using as the super fat. And the super fat is what is the most exciting part of hot process to me, because it is the part that you can pick which oil you're going to have as your super fat, so as your moisturizing agent for the people who are going to be using your soap. This is also when you add the essential oils. So you don't want to add them at the beginning because they're going to saponify and then they're going to be in that heat for all that long, so they're actually going to burn off. Adding it at the end means that you don't have to use as concentrated. They're going to burn off a little bit because it is still hot, but not as much as if you have to put it in there at the beginning. And then yeah, we mix this really, really good. It takes a few minutes to get everything mixed in. And you can see, yeah, those chunks are a result of that overflow, which I swear doesn't happen all that often, but I was a little distracted while making this video. And then, yeah, I just use an old soup scooper, which has now been repurposed for my soap making, to get it all out there and then scrape the sides and get it in there. And that is making soap. It's pretty easy. So this it took a little bit longer because of the video. It took me about 2 hours. It usually takes in the 1 hour to 1.5 hour range, including cleanup, which is of course super easy because you've just made soap. So you get to do all your cleaning up with the soap that you just made, which I think is super exciting and cool. This is the soap 24 hours later. I cut it using a cheese cutter, which does the job. It's nice and soft still, but hard enough to cut through, and it's got all kinds of really fun and beautiful textures to it. I will follow this up by beveling the sides and putting my stamp into it. And of course I had to test it right away. It is safe right away because the lye has all been cooked out. But in this case, yeah, you can see that some of the color was still going. Anyway, thanks for watching this. I hope it makes you want to try some hot process soap. You can always email me or find me online with any questions that you have, and I will try to answer them the best that I can.